2023 Board of Directors meetings, Sumner County Resource Authority meeting to order. At this time, we'll have consideration of minutes.
So moved.
There was one set in your folders there that was in the emails. The other two I didn't get done till this weekend. So there's two more sets in there, just
In the folder?
In the folder?
yes,
Oh.
in the folder. So
So which minutes are we voting on?
it'd be the ones that were sent out in the emails, I guess. Yes, ma'am.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor?
Uh,
Who made the motion?
Me.
And second, who?
Okay. report-
Mary second.
Yeah, Mary second.
Oh, who made the motion?
I think
Oh,
Jim.
Jim,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. All right, this time, I do not have a report, so we'll go to the general manager, Larry.
Okay, the first thing in your folders there is the tonnage reports. We got a fairly lengthy agenda, so I'll just kind of make it short on the tonnage stuff. Very first thing there, you can see we had just a little bit less than 18,000 tons in August. It's about 2,600 tons more than August last year, so the tonnage is still trending on the upside, you know, through this part of the year so far. I was looking at a report before it was about 4 o'clock, I guess, and we were trying to find it in my stack of stuff here.
Almost double from 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't see it right off. Anyway, we were a little less than 800 tons today so far. Had a pretty busy day today, and we're right at 11,000 tons up to through this part of September already. So we may be right at the last year's September number. Remember though, we were shut down the first 4 days of September doing the floor repair, so that would have made a little bit of difference in it. But you can go through there and look at the comparisons from one year to the next on the breakdowns on what went to the floor, the tires, and wood as well coming in.
That 544 a day is what startles me.
What's that?
So 544 a day.
Yeah, and that's the 7-day average. If you broke that down to 5 days, it'll probably, you know,
It's 536 a month ago.
650, yeah. But also the breakdown on the out of county tonnage was in there compared one year to the next. If anybody's got any questions about those. The very last thing there's the fee schedule for the load haul disposed contract. We were at $41.28 per ton in the month of August. Take the $27 a ton disposal fee out of that and leaves you, $14.28 on the load and haul part of that number. Does anybody have any questions on the tonnage reports? I'd like to say they're got a lot on the agenda, like I say, and kind of move through those pretty quick. If not, the next thing's in there is the financials. Those were sent out in the emails at the end of the week. Had another good month revenue wise. As you can imagine, with the tonnage that's been coming in, we're just a little less than $2 million first couple of months of this fiscal year. It leaves us at a little shy of $500,000 on the positive side year to date. You see the breakdown. Terry asked last board meeting to break down what we paid on that waste disposal line item. See what we paid Smith County and what went to MBI on the load and haul part of that. Breakout on the side down there at the bottom. Unless anybody's got any questions on that, the only other thing I've got, we've been talking about the other landfill situations in the area for quite a while now. Trying to keep everybody up to date on what's happening. Put a couple of articles that I had gotten and printed off on the Middle Point situation over there and the lawsuit with the city of Murfreesboro. Got that in there you can look at when you get a chance. And also, there's another article in there that came out along about the same time, first of the month, on the Waste Management Southern Services C&D landfill down in Nashville, in the northern part of the county down there. They had filed a year or so ago for an expansion permit at that landfill as well. The Metro Health Solid Waste Board turned them down on the permit. They filed a lawsuit, Waste Management did, and evidently in the appeals court, they lost the appeals court ruling on the expansion on that. So as a result of that, what they did that I talked about before, they cut out all the waste coming into that landfill except for what they pick up. So they're not taking any third-party waste in there currently. They are in the process of building and probably already got it built. Now, I don't think it's started up yet maybe, but I don't know this. I hadn't talked to anybody down there, but a materials recovery facility, kind of a recycling C&D material. How that'll affect, their airspace they got left, being able to process that, take recyclables out of that C&D waste stream and put the rest of it in the landfill. I don't know how all that's going to shake out over time, but anyway, that's kind of an update on what's happening in solid waste in the Middle Tennessee region currently, as I know it anyway. That's all I've got, unless anybody's got any questions.
Any questions? All right. Legal report, Butch, you have anything?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. First of all, we received, or Jim Youngseek received an email from Comptroller of the Treasury's office on Friday regarding two items. One, both an anonymous complaint or statement.
You gonna pass it out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you will. Okay.
I think it speaks for itself. I have been in contact with Mr. Richardson. Mr. Young and I are meeting with him to bring his requested documents regarding the issue of the alleged theft of scrap metal. Obviously, I don't know anything about it. Larry doesn't know anything about it. He also asked me, and I had a very cordial conversation with him this afternoon, and he asked me for the names and last 4 digits of social security numbers of all the employees we have here. I don't see a problem with that. I'll get that to him. You know, my understanding for those of us, including myself, about how the scrap metal works is that it comes to the authority and goes, it is contained with other waste as it goes through the scales coming in. And so there's no way to figure out how much scrap metal is coming into the resource authority. The staff then separates, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, by hand, if you will, the scrap metal from the waste pool, because we're not supposed to send that to the landfill. And then there are 2 entities, correct me if I'm wrong, who purchase that, and that's also a line item on your budget. I think it runs about $10,000 a month. Budget, I think, for that's $100,000 a year. And again, I don't know, when they say theft, I know what theft means under the statute. I don't know whether theft would be occurring because the elements of that offense may or may not be present. But at any rate, he's asked to come and talk to us about that, and we certainly do that. We do have a duty under the statute to cooperate with the Comptroller of the Treasury's office, and we certainly intend to do that. The other issue is a little bit more troubling, from my estimation, concerning the retirement of accrued vacation pay. When I talked with Mr. Richardson today, he had only addressing sick pay, and that's not part of the retirement thing. He wasn't aware of the policy. On the agenda tonight is a proposed revision of, it's on page 26 of the personnel policy, if I can get to it in just a second. Excuse me, page 28, and there are first of all, this personnel policy was enacted back in 1998. It actually needs lots of revisions going forward because it's really not current. Article 8 requires or provides for some sort of forfeiture, and that has to do with taking vacations and carryovers. But then paragraph 9 says employees will be paid for all accrued but unused vacation days upon termination of employment. My opinion is that that's an inconsistency. And so if push comes to shove, an inconsistency is generally construed by the courts as to be construed against the drafter, which would be us. So there is an item on the agenda to consider deleting paragraph 8 in its entirety.
Butch, because people who don't work here can't have vacation.
Right.
Is that,
Well, and also when this personnel policy was enacted, there is a cap on, and this doesn't have to be considered today, of anything over 20 years, you only accrue 16 hours a month. So what happens to a person when they're here 30 years? Or what happens to a person when they're here 40 years? they are in effect penalized for their longevity. So that's something also not to be considered tonight, but as we go down the road. What troubles me is that the power to pay retirement, or excuse me, to pay vacation pay, those powers are within the sole discretion under our private act of the board. So I don't understand, and maybe we can straighten that out come Wednesday, why there would be a complaint to the comptroller of the Treasury about that. And again, it was an anonymous tip. So there's also this thing about, it concerns me about, the word of that is malicious prosecution. And that will be looked at also. And that's all I'll have on that issue. The other issue is, and it's also on the agenda, concerning how the Resource Authority's meetings are publicized. And right now, it's into the newspapers and the radio station. Well, the local newspaper no longer exists that existed at the time of this policy, when it was promulgated. The radio stations are now, there is still one local, but most people get their information from the internet and websites, which at the time of 1998 did not exist. So that is something that the board probably needs to consider, because publicizing in the courthouse, at the radio stations, and in the newspaper seems to be not only antiquated, but a waste of resources.
Do we want to address that issue right now?
No, we do it it's under new business. I'm just saying, there are lots of things in the bylaws, and especially the personnel policy, that need to be looked at and brought to date. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to old business. First thing on the item is update and discuss the progress of the permitting, final design, and bidding of the new transfer station. Is that right?
Yeah, the design is where it needs to be. It's complete. We've reached out to the local publication for the bid advertisement. The bid is set to run on Thursday, the 28th, this Thursday, with bids received October 18th at 2 p.m. And we've got a pre-bid meeting on October 10th. One thing I wanted to ask the board, our last meeting, we said a bid period of 4 weeks. There was an error in the ad, and it did not get run last Tuesday, or last Thursday rather. So our bidding period is 3 weeks, which meets or exceeds the state minimum of 2 weeks to bid, but we had talked about using a 4-week bidding period. So that ad is not run yet. Final publication approval is due tomorrow.
Is it online anywhere? Is it online anywhere right now?
No. No, so if we want 4 weeks, it's as simple as a change in the document right now. But that's the one thing that's different from our last meeting.
Okay. Anything else on that?
The pre-bid meeting, what time and where do we know, where, will that depend on the number of people that come?
The pre-bid meeting will be here.
Okay.
And we'll start in the conference room, and it's really an opportunity for the bidders to see the site. I ask whatever questions we have now, because this one is the 10th of October. It should have plans in bidders' hands pretty early on, so I expect a good bit of interaction and questions. When you have it early on, it's just kind of, they haven't digested the plans yet, and so it's a little different scenario, but I think we'll have some good bidder response at that time.
What time do you anticipate that meeting to be held?
It's 10 a.m.
10. Okay. You might have mentioned that, I'm sorry.
No, I don't think I did.
When we open the bids, will that be here?
We'll open the bids here.
I have a question. Do we need to vote on your request for 3 weeks opposed to 4 weeks? Do we need to discuss and make a decision? Is that what we're doing now, or is that later?
It's up to the board. I don't think it requires a vote. If you tell me 4 weeks, I'll change the date to October 25th.
Yeah.
So he's waiting for an answer.
I don't think it requires a vote.
Okay, so which way are we going?
As long as we're within the state
State guidelines.
guidelines.
2 weeks is your minimum bid period. We're a little over 3 weeks. We could choose to stretch it out to 4 and.
So do you need
a day or
anything
two.
from us as far as guidance? Okay.
If anybody has any particular preference,
He's
I'll
asking
take
us for
it,
an
but-
answer. I think you're asking us if we want 3 or 4.
I
Are you saying
I
3?
intend to leave it at 3 weeks.
Okay, that's what I need to answer.
3 weeks,
Thank you.
yeah.
That was my question.
But if there was a preference.
No, that's good, yeah.
There could be a request by bidders as well to extend that period of time.
Maybe all I'd ask you guys to consider is, if we have one bidder, say, and we have indication from contractors that are coming to the party late and they'd like to bid, they'd like to participate, it'd be in the best interest of the bids we're gonna receive to extend the time for those bids to come in. So that'd be something that I hope we don't have to meet on, if I can operate on our discretion to extend the bid date out if need be.
And I don't know the procurement laws of the state, which can answer to that. If it's meets, can we do that and nobody sue us? You know, if we have one bidder, it's okay for us to extend? As long as we don't look at
Actually,
it
it's
or?
probably your fiduciary duty to do that.
We do that by addendum, so it's just a contractual mechanism during bidding that allows us to make changes to those initially let documents. And we can probably expect to have 2 or 3 addendums as it is. I expect to at least have one and probably another one for the pre-bid meeting minutes. So we'll document those and memorialize those with an addendum, and then another one that answers questions and clarifications and makes any necessary adjustments to the documents based on bidder questions.
I know from reading the bid that you're putting in, or the notice of the bid, is the pre-bid as well as the meeting on the 18th, are those both mandatory or just the 18th?
Larry and I discussed the pre-bid meeting and we decided to make it mandatory.
Okay.
So who shows up on October 10th becomes our list of bidders. Project this magnitude, I do want those bidders to be represented here. Feel like that's an important
Yeah.
step.
So then that really cuts us down to 2 weeks of bid, really, because they gotta be in here by the 10th.
It doesn't, it's not the bidding period is from advertisement to receipt of bids.
The 18th. But
Right.
if they don't make it on the 10th, they can't be in the 18th.
That would be true.
So that means we got a 2-week window.
A contractor needs to have somebody show up to the meeting. I've seen contractors send people wholly unqualified just to sign in the sign-in sheet at times. So if it's an important job to them, then they'll be here.
I have no construction experience. I'd leave it to you guys. I mean, it sounds short to me. I don't know.
I assume most of the contractors that see this bid, they're gonna do some work, they're gonna do a significant amount of work before the pre-bid meeting. And they're gonna come with several questions that are very specific, I would think.
And if we have concerned bidders, I'd look at that situation and with the opportunity to extend the bid date if need be. There's no advantage to, if I have more than one contractor say, hey, I need more time because the steel building package, it's gonna take another week to get those quotes back, and that's right up against my bid time, and, if we're hearing that sort of response,
Okay.
we should stretch it out.
We have done that on bids before, extended time at the request of contractors. Just to make sure that we're gonna get good bids back.
And so the advertisement that's initially let, we have a list of plan holders that we keep. The bidders are required to register with the engineer. The process is, when a change happens to any part of the contract documents, it happens in writing through addendum, we issue that to the plan holders and also to all the plan rooms. So it's a very broadcast event.
How long do we expect the bids to be good for?
Bids are typically good for 60 days.
We did order a transformer.
Transformer was ordered,
Order.
so that clock's ticking.
How long will that take approximately? You didn't hear somebody say up to a
Yeah, I
year?
heard up to a year for a 3-phase transformer. But there's a lot of work to be done before we need to bring power, and I've got another project that is just waiting on a transformer right now.
So back to the dates, if it's not that big of a deal to move it out to the 4 weeks so that we can get a little more room in there, I wouldn't mind considering it. I mean, it sounds really tight. If the person that's watching the bids is on vacation for a week, then we're down to 1 week. And I'd hate to miss the best bid because of, I don't know, if it's not a big deal.
When do we meet again? We meet on the 23rd?
Yeah, the 18th allowed us to get bids before the next meeting, and that was kind of how we set it up initially. But if we run the risk of extending it anyway, I got no issue with stretching it out to 4 weeks. That's what we initially had talked about.
Yeah.
What if we open them on the 23rd afternoon? Extends it 5 days.
The only challenge with that, Jamie, is there's things I need to look at for the bids to be in order.
You've got to check some boxes
I
first.
gotta check the bid bond, I gotta check their insurance, I gotta check their license. And so we'd have numbers, but I would, you could approve them on the contingent that, I guess, the rest of the bid was intact. But what we typically do is we have a little time and we make a recommendation that gives the board the opportunity to select the lowest responsive bidder, not just the lowest bidder. Oftentimes they're the same, but bidder might not be responsive for several reasons.
So if we push it out 4 weeks, that's gonna put us into November before we look at it to accept the bid, right?
Unless we meet earlier now, I would, of course. No, I'm sorry, I'd send you the bid advertisement, or the bid tabulation rather, and, you could see what the bid results were far in advance of the November meeting, but.
Could we call a special meeting to do that?
That's what I was gonna say.
Sure we
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do
That's
that.
what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Call a special meeting.
We need.
Roll with it. Make a motion.
So.
You don't need a meeting, the chair has the,
No, we're talking about to extend it 4 weeks.
okay, I thought you thought
Yeah,
special
yeah,
meeting.
we need a motion to do that probably.
Okay. I make a motion that we extend the bidding process to 4 weeks, and however those dates would fall in best for you for the pre-bid meeting as well as the opening meeting.
I'll
And you
second.
can get back to us on those dates.
Does that necessarily mean that everything comes in on the 25th instead of the 18th,
The 26th.
26th?
Well, that's the true 4-week mark. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that
I'm looking at,
October 26th?
do y'all want to meet
I think that's
November
right.
6th? We'll already be meeting October 23rd. That gives Ryan about 10 days to check over everything.
We win November.
November 6th. That's just an absolute
I
too
don't
much.
think I'll be in town then, but
What works better for you?
I gotta find out when I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna be on the 6th or 13th, I know one of those days.
Well, we have commission meetings, okay.
On the 6th?
Yes, sir. Committee meetings.
Ryan, why don't you make a suggestion for us? How much time do you need to, I guess, it depends on how many bids you get.
Really, I only gotta check the low bid first, and then I move down the list if they're not
Okay.
responsive, so,
When we meet, the 23rd?
23rd,
Yeah, I mean, if you got the bids in by when we had the bids in?
26th.
we'll have 26, so.
Okay. Could we meet the 30th, or is that too quick?
30.
I mean, I know that's the week after we meet, but still, all we're gonna be discussing is the bids anyway, right?
Yeah, and if all bids are clean, then I'll have the bid tab out on Friday. You
We're
guys
looking
can
like that's not
see it
right.
before Monday.
I'm just trying what day of the week the 30th is.
It's a Monday.
Yeah. Is Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, I won't make it, but I think y'all can.
What if we met earlier, would you make it?
It's a matter of financial management on the, let me look and see. They're
It's the
trying.
5th Monday.
They're trying to juggle around this meeting, our
Okay.
financial management meetings. So let me just double check and see.
Would it help if we met at like 4 or something like that?
They don't have any meetings
Yeah.
on the 5th Monday though, do they?
I'm gonna check financial management. They're jiggling it around. Let me double check.
I mean, you don't have any 5th Mondays.
Ryan, Butch, can y'all meet at 4?
I can meet anytime you guys need me on the 30th, my calendar's open. I
You
can
know,
meet
Jim, not that I approved, but last year, they changed commission meetings for Halloween so people could go trick or treating.
Well,
And I don't expect this, my life is jiggly.
The day before?
So
the
30
day before
October,
Halloween, they'll be able to celebrate on
Who
the,
knows, every meeting.
30 October then?
And the time, I'm
30
just
hours.
suggesting something that
4 o'clock.
is better for.
4 o'clock would be
Same.
great, yeah.
We'll do that.
4:00, 30th of
Okay,
October.
4 o'clock, 30th.
Okay, so
All
we got
right,
5th.
we have a motion?
5th Monday.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, boy.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, second.
Second.
So this is a totally separate motion than the other one?
Yes.
Well, special meetings don't require
Motion.
a motion.
Okay, sorry.
Is there,
The
You
chairman,
just have to-
All right, all right.
is there any way we could meet earlier than 4? I got 5 o'clock back at the other building on the 30th.
3:30?
3:30?
Well, will they give us enough time?
Meet at noon.
Could we potentially be choosing a contractor?
I'll have a recommendation for award.
Can we meet in the morning, like at
I mean,
9?
and if you
I
got a
can meet at 9 a.m.
recommendation, I mean, you know, it's probably gonna take 15 minutes for that meeting, to be honest with you, so. 30 minutes.
I could do
Like he said, everybody will have the bid tab after all the
Yeah.
bids come in anyway, so everybody will know what all the bids were.
Yeah, what about 3 o'clock?
3's okay.
3 sounds good.
3 okay with everybody?
Yeah.
All right,
Rick,
October
did you say
30,
no?
3 o'clock.
No, I'm
That's-
good, I'm good.
That's when the chairman's calling the meeting, October 30, 3
Yeah.
30 October, 1500, 3 o'clock.
But,
That sounds a little tutorial.
but the
You're gonna
other,
send out notice, right?
yeah, I will, but the other motion.
Did we vote on it?
No, that's the reason I was
Okay.
wondering if this was
We had a first and a
part of the
second.
other one.
All right, we had a first and a second
It's to extend,
to extend it to 4
Yeah.
weeks, yeah, okay. All right, all those in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, I oppose, all right, that motion carries. Okay, next update on the floor repair.
Okay, has already been mentioned, we did that floor repair over the Labor Day weekend. One thing I'll printed off a few pictures, kind of before and afters there, if you want to look at them. What we had to do on that, is we had an estimated price based on what we were able to see ahead of time, just the hole itself, which you can see in those pictures. But after getting the floor completely cleaned off, discussing it with the contractor, we did some test bores around the perimeter of that hole itself, trying to ascertain, you know, what the thickness of the concrete was around them. Trying to make a determination if we just cut the hole out and fixed it, was that, how much life was that gonna get us, as opposed to expanding the margins a little bit past that, and make the repair last a whole lot longer. Based on what we were able to find out, we had to make an afternoon decision to expand that out, because if we didn't, you can see how we marked that off in the pictures, all the bad areas where it was still thin, rebar showing. This was actually the hole itself. But we expanded the scope of that work a little bit. Well, it was more than a little bit, actually. We had an original quote or price of a little less than $80,000. That was based on 1,600 square feet of repair, which was what we were able to look at and estimate on the fly with the floor not being completely cleaned off like that. And after looking at it and determining we needed to come out wider than that in order to make that last longer, till we at least got the new transfer station built. That added another 940 square feet onto that price, which was a little over $46,000. The contractor had some contingency built into the budget, $5,000. He marked that off of the price. So the total repair was $119,510.
We budgeted 2 figures on it, didn't we?
We had, yeah, at least 200,000, I think, if we were gonna do probably, most of the floor. As you can see from these pictures,
You got a bunch of it.
probably did, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, we probably did almost half of it. Just to be honest.
Yeah, that was the main wear area. Actually, the whole floor replacement was gonna be $400,000.
But if we hadn't went out where we did to get, they wanted to try to get at least 8 to 10 inches of concrete to dowel into. There were some places where we're still down around 7, even expanding it out. But I believe what we did here, if you can see, they doweled into the existing concrete to tie their rebar mat in. So that's as good a floor repair as we're gonna get without taking the whole thing out and starting all over from scratch.
Everything's held up so far?
Yes,
Larry?
looks good. Yeah, I'm very happy with how it turned out.
We got great early strength on our cylinder brakes. It was over 3,800 PSI by the time we were back online Tuesday morning, which was really good.
Any questions?
And we were able to add to that and still get it done that weekend and be operating again Tuesday morning first thing.
Excellent. I have a question. With the renovations that we hope to have later in the next phase, I'm hoping you're gonna tell me we're gonna keep this floor and a repair.
What?
That's gonna be part of the,
Ryan-
not a new floor.
Ryan and I have already
Okay.
talked about that. What will probably be done next to that floor, the rest of it probably won't have to be replaced, but we can come back over that with a topping. It'll be a whole lot less expensive than replacing the whole floor, and it'll still last a real long time.
Okay.
It should.
And this is where the customers are gonna be coming. the
Right.
Right.
Residential.
So then,
Residential.
and they won't have near the traffic on
Yeah,
it
I was
going
gonna say.
afterward, as it's getting now with what we're putting on it now, so.
So what I'd like to propose, or the way the bid's set up right now, is there's a line item and there's a square footage amount for additional repairs if we have some other unwinding of floor areas outside of this repair. I don't know that you'll have any, but, it could be 16 months before you're working on this floor, so I want to have a provision in the contract that covers that cost. But the idea is, like Larry said, an emery topping to that floor that's going to be an additional 2 to 3 inches. And that covers, you'll basically have a brand new floor when that topping's on.
And the emery top that he's talking about is a high wear material that is used on transfer stations and MRFs and that kind of thing to facilitate longer
Is it a slicker
lasting
surface also?
floors. Not necessarily slicker, but
It's a harder aggregate.
harder aggregate.
Yeah, okay.
And then, I was confused, like, it's gonna be part of the bid. So when they go for the bid we're talking about, they're bidding out the new facility as well as the renovation all together, one big, oh, excellent. I was,
It'd be a 2-part bid, so it'd be a phase 1, phase 2, and most of the work's in
Understand.
phase 1. But once that new transfer station is operational, the scale house renovations are done, the 2 new scales are in, that gives us the opportunity to go make repairs to this building. So we've got some office repairs, we've got leaky windows, and some dated things happening upstairs in the break room for the employees. And then, of course, the floor, and then we've got a lot of damaged panels and some structural members that
Okay.
need repair.
Thank you.
We got some raccoon repellent work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
All right. Update on any landfill projects? You have anything?
Just real quick, we'll be sampling Caps Gap in October. So we'll do our regular groundwater monitoring event in October, and then at Caps Gap and Odom's Bend, that sampling is scheduled for December. But no news other than that.
Okay. All right, we have an update now on the replacement for Larry. Anybody want to give us that update?
You kind of took charge of that.
Yeah. It was adventurous, that's for sure. Thank goodness for Zoom. So we had 6 applicants initially when we talked in our last meeting, and 2 of them dropped out. So that left us with 4 applicants. And so the 4 that were left were Joshua Byerly, William Brown, Chris Colby, and Michael Mundell. Those were the 4 that we interviewed. Chris Colby was the gentleman from Hendersonville. He was the actual on-site interview. He came to Rasco to talk to us, and the others were by Zoom. So now I can go over what we figured out if you'd like. You want me to do that?
Yeah, give us an update on it.
Give you the
Yeah,
scoop?
tell us what y'all
So,
think.
and could you tell all of them, like, who was in which of the interviews? Because
So in the interviews, for Friday, the first Friday was on William Brown, was myself, Rick Murphy, Terry was on Zoom, and the 3 of us. Jim, you were out of town.
I was out of town, yeah.
Yeah, Jim was in here. So Mr. Brown, there was 3 of us on that. I'll start with Mr. Brown because he was our first gentleman. He, great amount of experience, talked the language that Larry talks. He lives in Phoenix, Arizona. He said that he would relocate right away. He was looking at about, we talked about the salary range. He did say that his current salary he makes is $105,000. He has lots of experience with SWANA. He does, if I remember, Larry, you were in there. He does all of the waste management for Phoenix.
It's
Right.
Chandler right outside,
Right,
about
yeah,
15,
yeah.
20 minutes outside.
So he has a huge amount of responsibility. Really presented well on Zoom, if, you know, and that's about all I know, other than his resume. If you have anything to add.
He said I'm sorry.
No, go over there.
They had a compost facility on site that they operated. They're in the process of rebuilding a MRF, which is about a $16 million project, I think he said, using a vendor called Machine X for the processing equipment. And they were currently running around the $17 million a year budget.
And he moved anywhere from 1,800 to 2,500 tons of solid waste on a daily basis, which was a pretty big number. And we asked him, why did you apply for this job? He was able to retire from either the city of Chandler or Phoenix, and he wanted to relocate to the Four Seasons, just wanted to come back to this part of the country. But he was just very down to earth, very, I think he interviewed very well. Had a lot of good employment, 34 years or so involved with the solid waste industry, so he's got a lot of experience. He was a good candidate.
I think he said he was from Ohio originally, I
Yeah.
believe,
Yeah.
if I can remember correctly.
He wanted to come east. The next one that we interviewed was Chris Colby. He was from Hendersonville. He was an outlier out of the 2 groups. He had a lot of experience in management. Of course, he lives right here in the region. He had, I didn't write all my notes down here. Lots of management experience. He had experience with your tracking truck, like a little thing that you put in.
RFID?
Yeah, he had experience with that. He didn't use it at Bridgestone. That it was too cost prohibitive. And it was proprietary intrusive for Bridgestone, what he said. But he was very honest. He said there was a couple questions that we asked him that he said, honestly, I don't have experience with that. I'm not going to tell you I do. So I thought he was very honest. What do you think, Rick?
He's got a lot of experience with transportation, logistics, so he's very good there. I asked him a question about how he developed his subordinates and the evaluation process he used in doing that, and he really didn't have I didn't think he had a good answer to that. He explained how he does it, but he didn't go into any formal processes in terms of how he does it and how he developed his subordinates. And again, I think the bottom line with him, he just really has no solid waste management experience.
Right. I was on the phone.
You were on the phone. And Terry, you were in the interview?
I was, well, actually I was here, yes.
You were here and
And
we were all here.
And
you-
I think
you were-
my disappointment was when I offered him a tour and he didn't take me up on
Oh, he didn't go?
that.
Right
I sat
after
right
you?
here and I
No.
said, you wanna go on a tour?
Here you go.
And I tried it 3 times because I was ready for a tour.
So, the next one we had was in the morning. It was regarding Michael Mundell. He is from Arkansas. He has a lot of experience as Mr. Brown, and he had a lot of solid waste management. I was listening, so I didn't write a lot of notes. I'm sorry, but he did a lot of. Was there a lot of construction that he did part of that, and then he left solid waste for personal reasons, and we won't go into that. But he seemed to have he lives he's divorced, and he said he could move right away, and he was looking at a $90,000 to $95,000 salary. So, I thought he was very experienced.
Yeah, 19 years of experience, solid waste, and had a budget exceeded $10 million, 60 plus employees. He had a lot of $9 million worth of vehicles and equipment he maintained. And he talked about successfully negotiating 2 solid waste contracts. He's been in the Army for 20 years, so that's a plus for me. Let's see. He did talk about how he developed his subordinates, and he was eager to help, and he was very interested in the build-out that we're looking at. But again, very qualified as well.
Didn't he have a similar project at a previous?
Successfully negotiated, I know 2 solid waste and 2 recycled processing centers.
And those of us that were in the interview were Rick, myself, Terry, and were you on
I was
that
on
one?
Zoom.
You were on Zoom. You were muted, right?
Most of the time, y'all won't let me talk.
He was listening.
So, and if I can speak for him, he had a full career and then retired, and he was working on his second one when he pulled out of solid waste. So he wants to come here and start.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of experience, but he has never been to Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, he's a hunter, likes to fish, and he said that he really would like to be somewhere where he had the ability to do those kind of things, and he really liked the Middle Tennessee area, but nevertheless, his experience spoke for itself.
Yes.
Didn't he say he was from California originally, before he
I
went in the
don't
Army? think
I
he
don't
did.
remember.
He did.
not sure.
I
And
missed
he
that.
said he could come in 30 days when he closed
Yeah.
up his apartment.
Yeah. And the last one was Joshua Byerly. He lives in Virginia. The people that were in the interview was myself, Rick, Terry and you, that was
Larry,
uh,
Larry was in here.
Larry. I'm sorry,
You
I
left
keep
Larry
leaving
out
you
every
out.
one of
these. It's all right.
Larry, you're supposed to be here, so.
Larry attended every interview.
He did, and it was very good. Joshua is a civil engineer. He, I guess went to, is it Virginia Institute?
BMI.
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 And I talked about that. He had a lot of experience in permitting, a lot of experience in leadership as far as working with, he had worked a lot with, up in that area with PhDs doing a lot of environmental, if I recollect, environmental projects and processes. Very familiar with our area as far as what we were up to. He knew a lot about what was going on in our area as far as waste management and our landfills, things like that.
Yeah, you mentioned Ryan by name, and somebody asked, well, do you know him? Said, no, he was just doing some research. He mentioned some of the roads that were in this area that were gonna
He
impact
checked
this
us out,
development.
didn't
Yeah,
He's got family in Old Hickory, I think he
Yeah,
said.
so he did extensive research. He had a lot of information about us, asked questions. The only thing I had, and it may have just been communication on my part with him, I couldn't get him to call me back. He always went through a mediator, which was Terry, and she told him to call me, so I got kind of annoyed
No.
about that.
I called people and he answered it
He wouldn't
3
answer
weeks
me.
ago. That was the only time, Mary.
Okay, come on.
and he talked about, as Mary said, he was a civil engineer, he was an environmental engineer as well.
Yeah.
And he manages a large transfer station. He was looking for more responsibility. He's had a lot of experience with recycling carts. He's had like 95,000 recycling carts. He's in Virginia, and I don't know if it's applicable, but I keep hearing people refer to this railroad spur out here. And he said he understands the importance and experience of rail transport because in Virginia, they get a lot of stuff moving from New York via rail. So one thing that impressed me, he said he put a premium on customer service. He's customer friendly, recognizes the need to move people in and out of a transfer station.
Yeah. So,
He's also worked in the regulatory side with DEQ, which is the same thing in Virginia as TDEC is here.
yeah.
So my question is, did y'all kind of rank these people to 1, 2, 3, 4, or what?
In my head, I ranked them. I couldn't talk to anybody
And
about
we
it.
haven't spoken.
Yeah, we haven't talked at all about it.
Yeah.
Today's the
so-
first day we laid our cards on the table.
So my question for
Do
you
y'all-
guys.
do y'all have?
I have them ranked in my head.
I do as well.
Well, why don't we, what do y'all think?
I
Look,
need to ask you what
Can
you're
we ask
looking.
Larry what he thinks first?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, what do you think, Larry?
If
Who would you like to be your
Yeah, Larry,
legacy?
let's put you on the spot. If you had to pick a candidate, Larry.
What's
who
your
would you pick
legacy
number
gonna
one?
be?
I know I don't have a vote, but I did rank the ones because I sat in on all the interviews. And I had Byerly as my number one pick.
Okay.
That's kinda what I think.
My number 2 was Brown. And my number 3 was Mundell, and Colby was, and, you know, any of those 3 probably would be okay. But you asked, that's what I.
And I'll just say, and I obviously didn't talk to Larry, but my 3 were Byerly, Brown, and Mundell in that order. And I'll tell you, I don't think you could really separate those 3 with a coin toss. They were all really, really.
I thought they were all very good, yeah.
Larry?
Well, aside from him not calling me back, I did like Mr. Byerly. I thought I liked the fact that he was youthful and he wanted to do well and he wanted to move and wanted to get ahead in the work. He saw a vision in what, because we asked him that question, what do you think you can bring to the Resource Authority? And he had a vision for it and he had a good answer for that. So I did like that. So he was number 1. And then Bill, or Mr. Brown was number 2, and Mr. Mundell was my number 3.
I'm the same. And I would say one of the reasons that I like number 1 was back to Larry's
Because he called you
retirement.
back.
Yeah, he called. No, he answered.
He likes you. He likes you, Terry.
He
He answered the phone.
He said he only needed 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He only needed
He
2
could live
weeks.
with
And he's got relatives in there. He said, I
Yeah, he
I
can
could
move
live
in with
with
his
relatives.
relatives.
Yeah.
So, but-
One thing he talked about, I mean, that impressed me was, you know, he made several comments about being a team person. And he used a phrase, and I wrote it down, a commonality of purpose, philosophy, dealing with employees, customers. And that, I don't know, that just struck a nerve or whatever you say.
He coined the term that he uses in his place about team waste, where he's like building a team with people around him, with his subordinates and all.
Well, it
Anyway,
sounds like that's, I mean, what's our next step? I mean,
Terry, who was your 2, 3, and 4?
The exact same.
Was it?
We all three, we've
I
all
think
come
that's
up with the same
pretty-
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 out of 4, which.
That was pretty, yeah.
You, I mean, you've done this job, so, you know, but I mean,
Yeah.
y'all are all in sync,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And we did,
So do we need to go ahead and do something tonight as far as
You can.
trying to
make it,
make an offer? What's the salary gonna be, or what we gonna do?
he did say in the interview that his expectations was a little bit on the higher end of the salary, so.
He said he currently made 100,000.
That's what he said.
But
I
he
wrote
would
that
expect
down
a
as
little bit
well,
more.
yeah.
Yeah,
What's our hand, what was it?
125?
125, we said, yeah.
What about relocation?
Yeah,
Any monies for that?
I mean, I
He
think we
didn't
probably,
ask.
I
He didn't
think
know.
we probably should offer something.
Well, do we need to get him in here and talk to, I mean, is it, would you folks, I wouldn't, I would like to say.
Yeah, but when we do, we probably need to have our ducks in a row to go ahead and
Yeah,
say, look,
Make an
okay, this
offer.
is your salary.
yeah,
This is
what we're gonna
you
do.
get
Make
this
him
for
an offer.
relocation, yeah.
And
And then the offer package.
right now, I don't, to my knowledge, we don't have a package per se.
we have benefits.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying, yeah, the benefits,
Yeah.
the retirement, the whole thing. We need, that needs to be drawn up.
And I put together, I went to the Sumner County Tourism Board and picked up some information on Sumner County, Gallatin, and Hendersonville that we could send to him, because I think at this point in time, we want to try to sell him on the location as well.
So
Well,
I'm,
he's pretty much, he rides his motorcycle around here and
Yeah,
he's kind of,
so I make a motion that the personnel committee, again, meet for another special meeting next week and come up with a package to get this moving along.
so, I have a question about that though. So, we're gonna have to decide on a base salary because that's gonna be first and foremost, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, you can tell me other things, but I would wanna know exactly, you know, what am I gonna make? That's the world we live in, so. How do we wanna do that?
he makes 100 now.
So, if you offered him like 110 and that includes travel money?
That's room to grow.
Well, that's
room to grow?
salary.
Say 110 and 10 to relocate,
Yeah,
maybe.
that'd be good.
Stills within our
you
125.
can't move, you can't relocate for 10.
I was gonna
But-
say, I'm looking where, yeah, I'm also looking where he lives.
That's 17 men in a truck.
The the cost of living might be a little bit higher here than where he is.
He seemed very comfortable with moving in with his relatives, once again.
Yeah, and he's, where in Virginia?
Manhattan.
He's got a state income tax too.
Okay.
It sounded like it was in the Richmond area, because he
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah, he's got a state income tax he won't have here.
I didn't look on the map, to see where it was, just.
He is, he's,
I don't have any problem going 10 and 10.
Okay. I mean, do we even need to
I'm saying
have a
that's-
special call meeting for?
The part of the package would be the retirement piece. I'm not familiar with how that works. Jim, maybe you can
Well,
bring that piece into the,
Yeah, we're
How it
just,
works.
we're not in TCRS because we're
Right.
not part of the county.
right,
We've got a
understand that.
401K,
So just the documents to communicate it to
Yeah,
him.
we need to get that from the people that we get.
Do we have to vote on the salary though, as it's a group?
I was,
Mhm.
yeah.
We did.
Yep.
Did you make that as a motion?
No.
I'll make a motion of salary of 110 and $10,000 for incidentals, whatever he can do toward relocating.
are we gonna require receipts for the incidentals and relocation, or?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
He
It'll be more
can't,
than
you
that.
can't move for $10,000. You
Um,
can't move across town.
yeah.
I'll second it.
There's a motion second. Any other discussion? And once we set this, are we gonna go ahead and offer him the job? Somebody gonna call him and go offer him the job? correct?
Me too.
Okay, any other discussion? All in fa-
Can we
all-
go ahead?
I'd like to make a
That's, we're
proposal that
voting on
Mary
the salary,
Townsend.
we're voting on that now, but
Don't do that.
He
back
won't
to
call
what
me
Terry
back.
said, we do need to give him a benefit package of what the vacation thing that
Mhm.
Butch was talking about, what that amounts to, what you've got as far as, your benefits, health, the health insurance, what the employee has to pay on health insurance, what it would be for a family, is he got,
Nobody
Yeah,
asked,
he
he
didn't
didn't
ask.
mention, I don't know if he was even married
I think
or
he's
not, so.
single, the
you
way
think
he
he's
lived it.
single?
I'm only assuming that.
Assuming.
He never mentioned
He didn't
being
mention
married.
family and schools or
Moving
anything.
in,
Said he was
moving in with
But
relatives.
What he did mention was, he mentioned that he had read our reports as well as our inspection reports. If he read our audit report, and I'm assuming that was the report he would have read about the
Sounded like
retirement.
he had done that.
And it's very detailed out in our audit reports,
Yeah.
the way the retirement works and how it functions.
Yeah.
So it won't be a big surprise.
Okay,
Or is there gonna be like a 90-day like period? I mean, anything like that? Or y'all just
You
saying
talking about like a,
like a
Probation.
probationary
Center.
period?
I think he should have a.
Tennessee's we can fire you when we want
Sure,
to stay.
right, right.
So, and he can walk out too, so.
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. I just-
Now, and that's another thing, do we need a
Well,
contract?
now, if you have a contract,
That's what I'm saying.
then you're not an
It's not
employee
the
at
same
will.
thing, right.
Larry, you don't have a contract, do you?
No.
I like the idea of no contract.
But it's on our best interest to not have one, it's in his best interest to have one.
Yeah. The county gives a lot of contracts.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Do you want to bring up anything else? We good? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Can I ask
All right,
Larry, I'm
Can I ask
sorry,
who's gonna be the contact person to call him? I mean,
One of you folks that talk to him.
I don't mind calling him if he answers the phone.
he ain't gonna call you back,
I
right?
know, it, right? So,
Maybe we should let Terry do it.
so I'll call him, but my question is, I need a fallback guy to answer his questions about what type of insurance and all that, cause otherwise I'm gonna be.
You just need to do it.
I'd
You only-
You were hired, buddy.
You only
You're
like
up.
Mike, I'd be willing to do that.
Okay.
Aren't we electing officers tonight? We'll get the new chairman to call him. That's what we'll do.
You're saying that because it's not gonna be you.
I know.
There you go. So, I do have a question though about the, if for, in some form or fashion, he decides, you know what, I don't wanna leave Virginia, I'm living it up there. What do we do as a backup? Do we wanna
We'll
go?
talk
Go
about
down
that
the
if it
list.
happens.
Okay, so we would just wait and see what
Yeah.
happens.
well,
Okay.
we're all in consensus
We
on
got a
top
plan
three.
B and C before you folks outline.
I would insert that we also need a start date.
Yeah,
I mean,
2 weeks.
I would say as soon as he can get here. And
He
you
said-
he said 2 weeks,
Then
so.
no later than, we'll need a no later
And
than
that
date.
kind of surprised me when he threw that out there. I was shocked by that.
When did he say it could be here?
Said
2
we'd be here in
weeks.
2 weeks, and stay with relatives
Yeah.
in Old Hickory.
Yeah, he doesn't have.
He's talking about November 1st.
He doesn't have a family.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
All right, we got it. So
We skipped
Mary,
a
you're gonna
month, didn't we?
Mary, you're gonna give a Larry before you call him, right? And kind of go over that stuff, kind of verse yourself with
I
that.
think I may come over and call him
That's what I was gonna say when he's here.
in his
Yeah,
office
yeah.
and
Can-
do it on speakerphone, that way I
Can
would
we have
witness.
Larry go ahead and mail this packet out to him, just on the area?
Makes sense because,
Yeah.
well, there's another question, is y'all want our HR, administrative services person, Jason Gallo, to contact the rest of them at this point? We haven't contacted the people.
Well,
that
let's-
need-
Let's see if he
Make
accepts
sure
it
he
first.
accepts.
Jamie,
yeah.
and then yes,
Okay.
I think so.
I keep
Yes,
asking that,
after
y'all
he
y'all
accepts,
tell me
yes.
when you want to do that.
Okay, thanks.
So if we could circle back to that, originally we agreed to appropriate some funding for advertising, and Jason is working and he is your Hendersonville employee. Can we kind of settle up with Hendersonville right now?
Did this board put this?
$2,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
$2,000
For
or $2,500 for advertising.
And then you offered up the HR for free, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, we spent
I
about
just wanted-
$400.
Okay.
Yeah, we're fine getting money. So I'll check
I
with
just
you.
want to settle, I mean,
I
while we're
mean,
here and
yeah,
it's on the
the
table.
board did approve.
I didn't realize that.
It was 2 or 25, I
It
can't
was
remember.
2,000, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We would've gone to lunch to talk about it if I knew that.
And again, thank Jason, because he basically teed this up for us very well.
Yeah, he did.
He did
He
a
did.
tremendous
You did a
job.
good job.
I was very concerned about that.
Okay.
I'll find out what the cost
We'll
was.
do that, and let us
Thanks,
know.
yeah. All right, moving on, update on the
We
investing.
didn't get no later than start date for you to tell, no.
I'll tell him tomorrow if you tell me it's okay, I can come by.
Yeah, I mean, he said 2 weeks, so.
2
if he
weeks,
do
if I
2
tell
weeks,
him
yeah.
tomorrow,
Would be
yeah.
good, okay.
But yeah,
I'll just wait, what's on Tuesday? Yeah, or I can come by here tomorrow, Tuesday.
See what he says when you,
I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it in your office with you.
oh, it's fine, I'm just, yeah, I don't.
all right, update on investing of current surplus funds in our cash flow account.
All right, the last board meeting, they asked me to go to a second bank, and I did that with First National, the old Citizens in Gallatin, and we had talked to Pinnacle, and that's where we've had the relationship with Pinnacle for 15, 16, 17 years, whatever, Larry. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Pinnacle, something like that. And I've got a little handout here. I'll give you guys one. I don't have one for everybody here.
It's okay, we can share.
Yeah, and then there's 3 down there, and then we can share this one. So basically, just kind of a recap with Pinnacle. Just give you a little backstory on them. $40 billion under managed, over 120 branches in 6 states. They have what's called an intra-cash services. That's members of a special network that allows deposits to be divided into different accounts, all under the FDIC umbrella of $250,000.
That's what we're doing right now, City Henderson.
Yes, and it's kind of standard. A lot of the banks use it. The assets are placed, as I mentioned, in different, multiple FDIC and banks. The relationship exists with over 3,000 participating banks, provides full FDIC coverage with 1 monthly statement, provides daily liquidity. Now, the rate that Pinnacle offered on this ICS service was 4.83% for the option. So Pinnacle came in at 4.83%.
This
And
is as liquid as a checking account. from my
Yes, it is. It's full liquidity. Again, it's FDIC insured, which we don't
Is there a
have now.
minimum amount?
No, I mean, we're talking
I know,
a
but.
bunch of money. I don't know what the minimum is. I don't know. But, that's Pinnacle. I'll let you just look at that material real quick. And that top sheet there, that just talks about this, ICS. And the CDARS just deals with certificates of deposits.
This bank as well as the other bank, part of the pool investment with the state?
I don't know the answer to that.
And I don't know a lot about how that works, but I know that there's a lot of them, and I'm pretty sure Pinnacle is. I just don't know, I haven't pulled the list.
I don't know.
And there's some, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, I just know enough that it's there. And I'm not sure how they work with it,
Yeah.
or how it works, if that gives us more protection or
Well, I
not.
mean, if, with the
I
entire
don't know, I'm
amount,
just asking.
no, I understand, even if we went up to $8 million, they just blow that out into the participating banks, and it's all FDIC insured from top to bottom.
$250 per bank.
$250 per bank. Yeah. And again, you got a single statement, it's not like they're gonna be chasing, X number of $1 million divided by 250. All that's consolidated, one statement end of the month.
And I'm just saying,
I understand, yeah.
I don't know how it works.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to that, I don't know.
If it's FDIC insured, you can't get any better than that. That's
No,
100%.
Butch, do we have to use this pool investment banking?
No,
Okay.
in my opinion. I mean, our private act allows us to go to that.
And I don't know what all that involves. I just know the
I don't know
county
anything
does.
about a pool investment. I don't think it's a required, for,
Is that a TML thing?
it may
Maybe,
very
I don't
well
know,
be.
I've never heard of it either, but I don't know.
It's 20 years in the investment business, I'm not familiar with it,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Let's see.
Like I said, I don't know how it works. I just know that when I read the county TCA stuff, it said have we pool, investment bank, and there was a long list. And I know Pinnacle was, and I just hadn't, and I don't know what that provides.
That's collateralized.
Yes,
Collateralized,
it's
I
the,
think, yeah.
the investment collateralization.
And that, you get less
accounts.
interest on that than you would on this.
Like, exactly. And I just didn't know if we had to do
Yeah,
that.
you used to have to be very careful about how much you put in, and then the state came in and covered all of that. So,
Yeah, that sounds like TML.
it was.
Yeah, okay.
Any questions on Pinnacle, and I'll address First National next. Any
Okay.
questions? Again, 4.83, and again, that rate fluctuates with interest rates, obviously, but again, Janet Yellen's, she's getting no indication that we're gonna see a decrease in interest rates anytime soon. And again, if you just, you know, I'm a simple person, I don't do big numbers, but you take $8 million at a 5% rate of return, you're talking about $400,000 a year in interest income. So it's a considerable increase, because I think right now Pinnacle had told me that the accounts we have is paying like less than 0.25%.
What do we plan on doing with this money?
You might have to use it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If the landfill goes away here locally, we have major problems.
Right.
If the bids come in over and above the issue of the bonds, we have major problems.
There's your problem.
They likely will.
That's all I'm worried about.
It's just a shot over the bow. Everything that we've seen bid in the last year and a half has been, throw your estimate out the window.
Do you wanna go ahead and give us a shocker number so we can be? No, don't, because they've still gotta do the bids.
And if,
Let's don't go there, let's
and
not
if
talk
we
about
need
it.
to construct a rail spur,
Right.
That would
hello.
be a good use.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Or buy extra property.
potential. Yeah, a lot of potential expense.
When you're at 600 tons, or
5 foot 44 a day.
Well, most days we're, you know, if you look Monday through Friday, we're 550 to 750 every day. Usually around the 750 mark every day. So,
And we're 3 years into the 10-year contract at Smith County with a renegotiation option in 2 more years at the 5-year mark, correct?
yes.
Right.
Which means the cost almost
That's-
certainly.
And,
Well,
and
this
yeah,
one-
the more than likely the price will go up
Sure.
at that point. I would well
Smith
imagine.
County's gonna get some more customers pretty soon.
Your
All right,
six
what you got
hours,
First National?
6:35.
Okay, moving on. Any other questions on Pinnacle? We'll go to First National.
Okay.
Hand that to them, and then here's 3 from you guys up the line. All right, First National, this is there's a letter here that is sent to Craig, and you look in there's two attachments. One of them is the same thing, this ICS. So it's the same stuff that everybody uses. First National has 23 offices in cities in Arkansas and Tennessee. They are over $2 billion invested in total assets. Similar FDI insured accounts, same as offered by Pinnacle in terms of using that ICS system. Current rate that First National is offering on this account is 5.25%. And I did not talk to, when I talked to the 2 banks, I did not tell them what the other was offering. I played that game before when I was a financial advisor. I told them I'm not going to do that. I said, you give me your best rate, and that's what I'm bringing to the board.
And they do the same thing, right?
It's the same setup, yeah.
Same setup.
I mean, you see underneath there that that's the same handout that there was with Pinnacle.
Rick, why wouldn't we go with 5.25 versus 4.8?
Well, I mean, again, having been in that business, some of it comes down to service too, and the relationship that's been developed. So I'll let Larry or somebody else speak to that. I mean, I'm new on the board in terms of how's the relationship been with Pinnacle over the years.
Well, from my perspective, it's been very good. We banked at Regions for a long time before we went to Pinnacle. And night and day difference in the customer service between Regions and Pinnacle. And they were really first rate and really helped us during the COVID years for sure, when, you know, nobody could go in anywhere and we had to keep getting changed somehow or the other because we were still operating. So.
Is that worth $300,000 a year?
Well, I'm just telling you what my experience is. I don't know anything about First National. I know Randall Carter, but I don't know anything about the bank itself, so.
How long we lock in for this?
There's no
lock
lock.
We change.
We're locking this,
I mean, it
yes,
could be
daily,
5.2,
daily
it could be
accrual.
at the end of the
it's
year.
just a money market account.
Basically, it's just money. I think it'll fluctuate with interest rates, and, you know, it's that rate today, and that's why I wanted to get back. I got with MJ Isham and Chris Rippey Thursday or Friday of last week, because I wanted to see if the rates had changed, if anything current, and bring something to you that was current. And then I met with citizens on Thursday, I think, as well.
And I understand that you didn't tell them each other's rates, but at this point, isn't there an advantage to going back and asking Pinnacle if they'd like to step up their game?
That would be a board's decision. I always
mean,
hated to play that
Well,
whack-a-mole
I'm
thing.
just saying, I think it might be a good idea because of our relationship with Pinnacle to
It's
say,
just an
look,
opportunity.
Yeah.
right, and say, look, you know, can you match this?
So, Rick, I appreciate what you did, and I appreciate what you're saying. We had a similar situation in City of Hendersonville. So we had $12 million sitting in an account that was getting 0.25% interest. So we looked at something better, and Pinnacle noticed we were taking out $500,000 every day, and they gave us a call, and they said, "What's the rate you're getting with the other guys?" They said, "We'll match it."
MJ gave me the impression that Chris Rippey, because I told her right up front, I'm not going to go back and forth. But she said, we want to work with you guys if we can. So I just left
I'd
it
like
at
to
that.
see
I
them
think-
matching a little better.
Yeah, I think that's,
Don't hurt to ask.
If the board wants, I'm happy to go back and
Do you really
ask that
think-
I
question.
think you should.
I do too.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, can we go ahead and say they match it?
Yeah,
They got it?
yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And if they fail to match it,
I'm good.
if they
Yeah.
fail to match it, what do we do?
Just give, well, First National probably gonna be getting them.
Ours
I just
deposit.
have a hard time saying that they probably will not match that for that much money.
I don't disagree with
We're talking about 5 million.
Yeah,
or more. I mean,
Or
you
more,
can put
yeah.
more into that.
yeah.
I mean, it's
It's
pretty
not-
straightforward.
We don't need it to meet daily cost. We don't need the money hanging out, it's not meeting our
Yeah, I
ongoing
mean, if we
costs.
can put all this in and with the liquidity and the ability to access the money, I don't see any reason why not to put a big chunk of it.
An
in.
advantage to being at Pinnacle is they could transfer money from that account into your checking account.
Yeah,
So you'd really be more flexible
yeah,
as far as that goes.
okay.
I would say if they come close.
Let's
we
go
go- I-
5.
I would say go with them if we can come close.
I would say go with them, yeah, if they match it, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, just tell them, then bring it back to us.
Yeah, I'll call them Mark. But it'd be all right just to, after I talk to either MJ or Chris, to just send you guys a message or text. That'd be all right?
Should we go ahead and vote right
Yep,
now?
Yep,
I think-
probably should.
Yeah. What was your motion, Jim?
I don't know what it was.
I'll do it.
I was looking for a figure here.
Terry's got a
I'll make a
motion.
motion that if Pinnacle matches or betters the offer, that we go ahead and invest the 5 million.
And if they don't, we go with First National.
If we don't.
Do you want to
we'll
live
match
up
it.
to 5 million or go more?
You wanna go 6? I mean, we got 7.5.
What do we need for, well, if it's with Pinnacle, it could be all of it, basically, couldn't it?
Well, yeah,
We need some in the check.
yeah, let's leave.
Okay,
I don't know when our bond
And
payment's
then I'd
coming
like
up,
to
that's 7.
extend that amendment that we revisit this item every quarter. Every 3 months, we have this conversation again and see where we're at. It's a lot of money, we should keep an eye on.
Are we talking about 5 million, or are we talking about 7 million?
no.
I'd say 6.
6,
I'd say 6 million.
because that way it'll still give us what?
Yeah, leaves us million,
How one?
almost 2 million, 7 million, 8.
Okay,
You're okay with that, Terry? I'll second it.
Yes, I'm,
Okay.
exactly.
all right.
Okay,
So what was it now?
6 million.
6 million.
And if they match it or better, we're going with.
And if not, we stay with First, we go with First National.
And we revisit the rates in every quarter to see if somebody will give us a better rate. We'll re-shop it quarterly.
I mean, that could be a hassle in terms of trying new accounts you've got to open. and-
Yeah.
Probably gotta do it
that-
about
Maybe every
6
annually,
months.
maybe.
6 months?
Yeah, let's see,
Or
yeah, and like I
Those guys
said,
are gonna be close.
the flexibility of being able to move that money back and forth at Pinnacle is
Immediately.
very valuable.
And First National has the daily, they have the ability, all these banks are, at the end of the day, they're all basically the same.
But if you
Well,
choose,
Okay,
choose a bank, you're not gonna lose money anyway, cause you're still gonna gain interest on your money no matter what
Yeah.
you're in. But even if it goes
So as
down.
part of the motion to revisit 6 months? Or was it
6
9
months.
revisit, we could revisit, yeah.
6
That'd be
months?
good, yeah, okay. And we have a second by Jamie. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed, motion
Well,
carries.
I'm gonna abstain just simply because I know both these folks and I bank at one of those two banks.
Okay, gotcha. All right, new business, discuss the modification of the bylaws concerning the dissemination of meeting notices.
Yes, I mean, right now, the notice requires to go to the newspapers, courthouse, and the radio stations. Doesn't say anything about the internet or websites, so probably needs to be
Change it.
updated. Yes.
Uh,
And if you just do it at the website, then the publication will meet the requirements of the Open Meetings Act.
Well, who's somebody here that, I mean, I don't know anything about all this.
Larry took care of it.
We did,
He
okay.
did.
He put it on the website anyway, but we're still having to go to the newspapers and the courthouse and the radio
So
station.
you, so you say we need to delete that for the,
Yeah,
All I'm saying is that if you do it by the website and the county website, then you have met the requirements of the Open Meetings Act.
So you're saying we need to take out of the bylaws, the newspaper,
And
the
radio.
radio station?
And the courthouse.
Amending your.
Okay.
And the courthouse.
All right,
do we hear a motion on that?
I motion it.
Have motions, or a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Young. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Larry, the past
Anybody
2 or 3
opposed?
meetings have been,
Anybody opposed?
And I'll have
Motion carries.
I'll have the form, you know, the amendment.
Who's the best person to talk to at the county about being able to get that on the website itself?
The clerk,
No,
Carolyn. No?
Ramona.
Would you like
IT.
IT?
Help.
Right, I'll get you a name.
Okay.
I'll get you in contact.
Thank you.
It's help at sumnercountykn.gov. You can do a help ticket. That's how we do it.
Okay.
And
I was just curious because I didn't know who specifically, it'd be better to go to that person directly or whatever instead of,
They'll create a ticket and it tracks through their civil work order system. So you can
Okay.
put it in there and it'll be done.
I have a quick question on what we just voted on. Did we add the internet onto that? I know we were deleting.
Well, when I said the
Taking
internet, I
off.
said the website. You know,
Website,
That's what
yeah.
I meant by the internet.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's already on there, I think.
But it does say website on there. I just
Not
wanted
on
to
the,
make,
not the existing one.
no, not the existing one, it don't.
can we
I'm
get a
saying we need to
copy?
add that language,
Oh,
correct?
yeah, we probably.
Yeah.
So we
I thought
voted
you
to
said
take
yeah.
off of the radio, the courthouse, and newspaper. We didn't
You want
vote
that?
to add it to.
Can we make amendment to get a copy of the policy and then come back and there may be other things that everyone sees that we'd like to,
Are you talking about the,
The personnel policy.
Bylaws?
The bylaws different than personnel policy. I
the
thought,
bylaws, is the bylaws the ones that have the notice in it?
Yes.
Yes. Can we all get a copy of that?
sure, I thought we were
And
gonna send all that out.
Did we get it and I missed it?
I didn't.
Oh, I didn't get it.
I didn't.
Okay,
And
Yeah,
then
sorry,
maybe we'll be more informed on what we're voting
do you
on.
wanna?
But you're gonna add the to a website.
Yeah, we need the language, I mean, you can't, if you're deleting where
Yeah,
we're
you need
putting
to
it, then
amend
you
it.
need to add where it's going,
yeah,
correct?
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna
Where
add
would you
that.
like me to go, Chrissy?
No, we, I mean,
County and,
yeah,
The
Brassica,
county
and this,
website.
and this,
And I would go ahead and add
And
the
then
two
the-
cities also.
yeah.
Yeah.
you see it
Yeah.
as
Can you-
websites.
can
In
you
the
force
city's
me to put it on
website.
the city's website then?
Do what?
Can this body force me to put it on the city's website?
Not at all. It's up to, I mean, that's up to the municipalities if they want.
Hey, feel free to ask, it's just our IT department does what they usually want to.
Okay.
I mean, I will do my best.
So are you amending that?
Well, in that case, why don't we
discussion.
explore that, and then we can come back next meeting and then
Maybe we
decide.
better explore the whole
Sure.
thing.
All
All right,
Yeah.
all
And
right,
then
yeah, I
what
wanna,
everybody
do you
can
wanna
feel good.
withdraw your motion then? Or do
You made
wanna-
the motion,
Yeah,
right?
No, I thought you were to,
No, I-
for the website.
no,
So-
no, no, no.
He's talking about the
The
original motion where we're taking
We're
it
taking it
off.
out, we're
Oh.
gonna just
I
not
didn't
do
make
anything.
that.
Who made the motion, Larry?
Mary.
Oh, Mary did.
You can't- you
I
can't-
thought it was the liaison, I'm
You
sorry.
can't pass that motion without having a replacement.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so do you wanna, you
I'll
withdraw?
withdraw it.
And
then there's-
who seconded it?
I did.
You gonna withdraw your second?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jim
I
did.
did, I'll withdraw it.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with Larry to continue to get it on the website. There's nothing illegal
Right,
about placing
no.
it in more places than necessary.
Exactly.
Which he's been doing for the past couple of months.
Okay,
so.
all right, and we'll bring that up maybe next meeting or something, so.
Okay.
All right. Discuss a revision to the personnel policy concerning accrued vacation pay.
Right, and we talked about that in the report, article, excuse me, let me get to the personnel policy. This is not sick pay, this is, which was what Mr. Richardson was discussing with me today. Excuse me. Page 28.
Says vacation time.
That says vacation time, but Mr. Richardson was referencing sick pay.
Firemen get sick pay, they get paid a lot of money on sick pay, because they're never sick.
And that's what goes back to what I said earlier, is that we have a lot of firemen who technically have left their job, but they're still on the payroll, so they haven't been terminated.
Right.
Because they accumulated so many sick days.
All right.
I think teachers can do that too.
It says, all employees are urged to use their vacation time each year. Employees will not be paid for unused vacation days in any year unless approved by the board of directors at its sole discretion. Employees who have taken at least 10 days, 80 hours of vacation during the year may carry up to a total of 24 days and 192 hours into the following year. In no event will any employee be permitted to carry over more than 24 days of vacation. All vacation days not used or eligible carryover to the next year shall be forfeited. For example, if an employee has 20 days carried over from the prior years, earns 18 days during the year, and takes 10 days of vacation, the employee can carry over 24 days and 4 days are forfeited. However, that directly conflicts with Article or Paragraph 9 that says employees will be paid for all accrued but unused vacation upon termination of employment.
Oh, you got a conflict.
You got
Completely
it.
contradictory.
Absolutely, and if this were to come to shove, those types of ambiguities under longstanding Tennessee court law are construed against the drafter. So you have to pick one or the other.
Can we get a copy and?
Yeah, I
and
think
come
it's
back
hard,
next time? It's
that's
hard
a
to
lot
get
of
this in.
verbiage to, without seeing it.
Well, sure, I thought that was gonna be something, but anyway.
Yeah.
There, I think you sent me a PDF of the bylaws at one point, the personnel policy. I've got to see if,
I don't think I've had that.
I thought everybody had gotten them,
Mhm.
but, okay.
Yeah, so do you wanna get that too, and then we'll discuss that at the next meeting?
So I have a question. So in my world, I make PTO time through the year. I get 20 days of PTO time. And at the end of the year, if I haven't used my PTO time, then I get a cash out, which the following year. So I can't keep that. I have to
Use
cash
it or
out.
lose it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's cashed out. I could say I have 10 hours left. They pay me out for that. And then I'd start over again that year. That way I don't accrue a bunch of hours through.
so that's use it or get paid for it.
Use it or get paid.
Okay, not using it.
Well, and that's fine, but we have a situation now where he's accrued it and he hasn't used it, and Paragraph 9 says we are to pay him upon termination, or anyone on termination.
So he's
That's
so
termination, he's not being terminated, he's retired.
It's termination of employment. If he retires, it's still his
Okay.
employment is
So
terminated.
you're essentially having to go with Larry's situation because it's kind of unique. You're following the laws of what you have in your policy today based on his termination, not what we were going to do in the future. Am I correct?
Well, I'm not sure I'm following.
Well, let me say it a little differently.
What she's saying is that we can't change what we do in the future. Right now, what you read, that's the policy for today.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, certainly you could implement, and in 1998, they didn't have such a phrase as paid time off.
Right.
Okay, so that's another reason I have asked that the city of Gallatin send me a copy of their current PTO, HR
Yeah. Right.
policy as a whole, which probably needs to be revisited anyway,
Okay.
including that particular issue along with others. I mean, there's, we have sick pay, we have, excuse me, all sorts of things that are outdated from, thank you, from 1998.
Larry, what's the closest you have to an assistant GM? That tells me something right there.
Yeah,
He needs a backup guy.
no, yeah,
We might be asked that in about 6 months, I bet.
Yeah.
that'd be a suggestion of mine for the new person, just to be honest with you.
And that's one of the things we stressed, or I stressed with each of our candidates about how the development of their subordinates, because that's critical in a job like this, or any job.
You know, it's something that I've thought about for a long time, but, you know, in your midst of,
Overcome by events.
yeah,
So we're gonna get a copy of that
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we'll hash that out next time.
And from that standpoint, it's important to understand where this entity was in 1998.
Should have
And
been
where
updated
it,
in 25 years.
well, and where it is now.
Right.
The economic environment for this entity was
Different.
180 degrees
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, well, just like when Bob Brown left, Larry was his assistant.
Right.
So when Bob left, Larry took over, and then we closed the burn facility. We went through a bunch of stuff. Used to sit right here. The burn facility did, right outside, this right here, a concrete slab.
Yeah.
That's where it was. And you'd sit here and look, and there'd be garbage piled 70 feet in the air.
Especially when we had the fire.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway, that's me. That's me.
moving on. Discuss the in lieu of tipping fee payment from Sumner County.
Okay, what that is now, we're getting $100,000 a year from the county, and I wanna make a motion that we tell the county, I believe I checked with Larry, they pay us at the end of every quarter, $25,000. I'm saying that we got that 25, and we know how, we weigh their trucks as they come in, so we know what it is. When we've used up the 25, we send Brother Loring a bill, he doesn't send us any more money. We cease and desist with the 100,000.
The city of Hendersonville doesn't have that option, do we?
No,
I assume Gallatin doesn't either.
No.
you pay as you go. They pay 100,000 and come in.
We're paying, okay.
So you're saying to drop that and just have them pay as they go, like the rest of the people?
Yes.
So, and to speak to that issue also, I have questions coming from the county. They want to know, and as far as the cities also, that we all pay for maintenance of the landfill. So I'm getting questions regarding that. Why we're not paying for the maintenance cost of the landfill, why we, Rasco, aren't doing that, and why Hendersonville, Gallatin, and the county all have to pay
Because they were.
towards that.
That's part of the post-closure.
Post-closure agreement.
Agreement with
Yes.
the
We don't have a
entities.
choice.
I do know about that.
That's what it's, that's the reason they're paying.
Yes, well, their question is why? Why isn't the Resource Authority paying that?
In our situation, it was a landfill that was only used by the city of Hendersonville. And it was never used by the Resource Authority because before the Resource Authority existed. And so when the Resource Authority came into existence, the city agreed to pay the Resource Authority to community monitor that.
And that's the Caps Gap.
No, that's ours over by,
There are 3 landfills.
Freehill Road.
There's the Modelfoot Asheville, which Ryan can speak to because TVA requires or has required in the past water sampling and, what else?
Well, the Caps Gap and Odin's Bend are both under custodial care at this point, but well, actually, that's not true.
No.
We're still actively monitoring. And so TDEC requires semi-annual monitoring of both those landfills. And that being part of post-closure, I think, my understanding of the agreement, it was, what was it, 2/7, 3/7 for Gallatin, Hendersonville, and the county. As to I guess the agreement, I've never seen it, but I know that all kind of fell under the remnant of the
Solid waste
operation.
disposal.
At one time, back years ago, we were paying a lot more.
Well, yeah, when we were dealing with Caps Gap.
Now, I'm talking about the city and county and all that, we were paying a lot more than what we're paying.
Well, that was part of the solid waste disposal agreement,
Right.
and when that was
And
set
this
to
is the
expire,
closure.
there was a post-closure,
Yeah.
deal that went
Yeah.
through.
I think we're paying 120,000 a year, right now. I could be wrong, am I wrong about
Nah, I
that?
don't think
No,
it's
you're
that.
not paying that, not for the audit report, Larry can speak.
It's not that much.
Okay. No, you're fine, it's not.
I think your maintenance is somewhere around 25,000.
But that's the reason why, is because of the way the charter was set up.
City shared,
And then-
yeah.
Larry has shared with me those agreements, but I need a fully executed one with all the signatures. Do you have that, Butch? Can you get
I
that
don't,
to us?
I have it in my files, I believe.
I circled back with the county clerk, and the one she gave me, it didn't have the attachments, and it wasn't fully signed out. So
Okay.
I don't know if they just didn't
All right.
get the.
Well,
full
that's a
one.
different issue than
It
what's
is.
on the table right now, but
Yes.
I can get that.
So going forward, those contracts are coming up again in 2025, I think.
I believe that you're correct.
So I'm just getting questions on like why we're not self-sustaining on the maintenance and those costs. And we can discuss that at other times.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's
Jim,
get-
I have a question about what you're saying, because
Mhm.
I need to understand. So, the county is paying $100,000 a year to do.
Their trucks come through,
Whoop-de-doo.
they'll
And so
pay.
once they reach $100,000, then, was that a set rate,
They
period?
agreed on, yeah, I don't know when it came about.
Nothing more, just
And it just
100,000?
no
been years
idea.
ago.
When the waste energy plant was shut down, the bonds were paid off.
Mhm.
That was the amount that was agreed on going forward for the in lieu of tip fee.
Okay.
It was a whole lot more than that. I can't remember the exact number.
It was 300,000, I believe.
Yeah, it may have been, or more,
Yeah, I've seen 342.
yeah. So,
So you're saying take it off the table for them to pay that, and then just let them pay like I would pay if I came through
Right,
the.
exactly.
Well, it's a different
And they
rate than the regular rate,
Yeah,
it's
they paid
municipal
20,
rate.
they paid 25. I think Larry said he's already got the check for this month. So they paid 25, and he can go back and calculate what it would be up until this time, and when it starts going over the 25, then they'll send the
Well-
bill to the county.
to give you an idea, I had a call from, well, it was Mayor Isbell here several weeks ago now, asking about this very thing. You know, asking me, you know, if we could talk about the ramifications if, you know, that went away. So I ran last fiscal year's numbers for all the Sumner County units that come in here and dumps, EMS, Sheriff's Department, Highway Department with the litter bus. And for the whole fiscal year, last year, 7/1/22 to 6/30/23, the total was just a little less than $26,000.
So the county would save $75,000.
Yep.
If it stayed that,
Yeah,
you know, year to year,
Right.
that's just, since he called, I went back and ran
that
those
doesn't include the
reports.
school system.
No, that's a totally separate
Gotcha.
thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's, I would well imagine it
It's like
is.
425
Yeah, I would guess.
for,
We're talking
and I don't
about
know
all
where
the
they're going.
schools.
Are they coming here? Waste Pro's picking up schools. Are they coming here? Or are they going?
They could possibly come here, but the way those things get picked up, you know, it's on front loader trucks.
So So you don't know,
So it's all mixed up with their route stuff, so you would never know what the amount was unless the contractor was picking up all the schools by themselves directly and coming here, so.
dinner's getting far away. With that, and I am in favor of your proposal, Jim, will we be charging the county the tipping fee that we're charging Hendersonville and Gallatin?
That's a question, yeah.
Yes.
So your motion is to take it away but charge them the same as the other cities?
So I'd like to make a amendment that we actually need a new contract. Our current contract has the tipping fees at $45. My understanding they're at 52, so we actually need a new contract anyways. If we're gonna completely change the way the county's paying, we need to include that also.
Don't we all get a discount?
Yeah.
But the current contract says $45, so we're charging you 52. According to Larry and our discussion.
It's that agreement she was asking about a while ago. There's a tipping fee
It's
section in there.
The terms of the agreement
guess
is
if
that
you will.
Gallatin pays us, the contract says that Gallatin will pay us $45 a
Mhm.
ton. But actually, according to Larry, your true rate is 52. We've never updated those contracts. That is the contract that says the county will pay 100,000.
Because we're not paying 52, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Are we right now?
When they went up, I guess.
So I'm
Okay,
just
that's what I meant.
proposing
Yeah,
if we're
Okay.
Yeah, the tip
changing.
fees, the reason it's more now is because the tip fees have been
Yeah.
increased over the
I
last.
got you, I got you.
But the contract
So we
just
just need
wasn't
to do
redone,
that.
is that
Okay.
what?
Exactly. So I'm just saying if we're changing, let's get everything up to date.
Okay.
Okay.
And so if we could get that back to the table next time.
Okay. So we got a motion on the floor.
On which motion do we have?
About dissolving the 100,000?
Get rid of the 100.
Is there a second?
Sure.
Second?
Okay. You got a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, election of
Okay,
officers.
so what we'll do, of course, we still weigh all the trucks just like normal. And we've already got a $25,000 payment, so if, we'll kind of have to track it, see when we run out of money.
And then send a bill.
That's kind of like a pay ahead account.
Right.
Yeah.
They have us on retainer.
Like those, don't you?
Well, we've done some of those, not with the county.
Okay, election of officers.
Okay.
My turn. What are the positions?
President, vice president,
Question.
Chairman,
Chair,
chairman, vice chairman, secretary, treasurer.
who's the vice chair right now?
I'm pretty sure
was
it's me.
Baker, wasn't
It was Baker.
But then we had an election,
it? No, we didn't.
didn't we
No,
have
we
an
didn't.
election
We
for
were
vice
waiting on
chairman?
Mm-mm.
Oh, we did?
No.
So,
Which said no.
all right. Then you got chairman, vice chair, you got your secretary, and is there a treasurer?
Secretary treasurer. can do the
Secretary
same
treasurer,
thing.
same thing.
Okay, all right, so we got three, all right. Which one we want to take first? Chairman, do I hear a motion?
Jamie,
Got a motion for Jamie?
It's been a couple of years.
You said you didn't want to do that.
I didn't want to do it then.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Anybody else? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Chairman, vice chair. Do I hear a
Does
motion?
vice chair have to be an elected person also? Because chairman has to be an elected person, right?
Yes, vice chair does too.
the vice does too.
Yeah.
I'd nominate Mary Dunn for vice chair.
You do?
Yes, since I have to call it.
I'll second that.
All right, motion second.
Wait a minute. Chrissy? Mary? Okay.
Yes.
And Jamie seconded. Any other? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. By opposed, motion
I
carries.
abstain, please.
I'll nominate Jim Young to be our secretary treasurer.
I can't be,
Can't be.
Haven't you been doing
like 40 years, but,
He has to wait a year.
yeah,
it?
man that read the rules.
Is this not a citizen's
Can't be.
It can be,
position?
it can be any of us.
Yeah, it can be anybody.
Brother Murphy, I nominate Brother Murphy.
Second? So that way the, three positions would be held by the three different entities then? You have Hendersonville County and Gallatin.
Yeah, that's a good idea, yeah.
Okay. Any others? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Who seconded that motion?
Jamie?
Jamie.
That was good. Anybody have anything else?
No,
Motion to adjourn.
Dinner ready?
amen.
Second.
Motion second, we're adjourned.
Which I thank you for the work with the bank.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, Mary, thank you for the work with all the interviews.
Hey, Larry, what time will you be available tomorrow?